There are moments in life when the voice of God seems to reach out to us in ways that are undeniable. It's as if the universe conspires to make us pay attention, to notice something or someone, until we can no longer ignore the divine fingerprints on the situation. When God is leading you toward the person meant for you, he doesn't always shout. Instead, he uses persistent, subtle signs. Signs so steady and intentional that they begin to stir something within you, leaving no doubt that this is not mere coincidence, but a message from above. You see, God's ways are higher than ours, and his methods often defy human understanding. He operates beyond the limits of logic, guiding us with an intricate blend of wisdom and love. When it comes to relationships, he doesn't leave us wandering aimlessly. Instead, he sends consistent signs to point us in the direction of his will. These signs might show up in different forms, through people, moments, or even the quiet stirrings of your spirit. But they all have one thing in common: they are intentional, and they are meant for you to see. Perhaps you've experienced this. A name keeps popping up in conversations. You run into the same person in unexpected places, or you find yourself thinking about them more often than you can explain. These occurrences aren't random. They're God's way of nudging you, drawing your attention to something deeper, something significant. And the beauty of God's plan is that it is persistent, but gentle. He won't force you into his will, but he will make it so clear that you'd be hard-pressed to deny it. What makes these divine signs so impactful is that they often come at a time when you're least expecting them. Maybe you've been praying for clarity about your future, or perhaps you've asked God for a partner who aligns with his purpose for your life. And then, slowly but surely, the signs begin to unfold. They're not always grand or dramatic, but they carry a weight that's impossible to ignore. It's like hearing a whisper in a noisy room. You might not notice it at first, but once you do, it becomes impossible to tune out. God's persistence is an act of love. He understands our doubts, our fears, and our tendency to second-guess ourselves. That's why he keeps sending the same message in different ways, ensuring that his intentions are clear. It's like a parent patiently guiding a child, repeating instructions with kindness until the lesson is learned. God knows the significance of the relationship he's pointing you toward, and he's not willing to let you miss it. But here's the key. Recognizing these signs requires spiritual sensitivity. You need to be in tune with God's voice, attuned to his presence, and open to his guidance. That means spending time in prayer, seeking his will with a genuine heart, and being willing to let go of your own plans. It's about cultivating a relationship with God so intimate that you can discern his nudges even in the smallest details. It's also important to remember that God's signs often come with confirmation. He doesn't just leave you guessing. If a person is truly meant to be in your life, the signs will align with his word, and they will bring peace, not confusion. There's a difference between a fleeting feeling and a divine direction. God's signs are consistent, and they resonate with the deeper truths of who he is, a God of love, order, and purpose. Sometimes the signs God sends are challenging. They might push you out of your comfort zone or challenge your assumptions. Maybe he's showing you someone who doesn't fit the mold you had in mind, but they fit his plan for you perfectly. Or perhaps he's calling you to be patient, to trust his timing rather than rushing ahead with your own. Whatever the case, his persistence is a reminder that his ways are always higher, always better. So, how do you respond when God keeps sending these signs? You respond with faith. You lean in, pay attention, and trust that he knows what's best for you. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to take the next step in obedience. Because when God is behind something, he doesn't just open doors. He makes the path unmistakable. At the end of the day, God's persistence is a gift. It's his way of saying, I see you, I know what you need, and I'm leading you toward what's best. It's not about figuring it all out on your own, but about trusting the one who holds your future in his hands. His signs are not just about showing you who to be with. They're about showing you how deeply he cares for you, how intricately he has planned every detail of your life. So, pay attention to those persistent signs. Lean into God's whispers, even when they challenge you. Trust that he is guiding you toward a relationship that aligns with his purpose. And remember, when God is in it, there's no need to force it. He'll make it clear, undeniable, and beautiful in his time. Because when God wants you to end up with someone, he won't let you miss it. You just need to trust his persistence and follow where he leads. There's something truly remarkable about the way God orchestrates alignment in our lives. It's a process that goes beyond coincidence, weaving purpose into every thread of our experiences. When God is leading you towards someone who is meant to share your life, one of the clearest signs is alignment. Alignment of values, vision, and purpose. It's not a fleeting sense of connection, but a deep-rooted harmony that speaks to something eternal. And when this alignment appears, it's not just about the two of you, it's about God's plan for your lives. Think about the power of alignment. It's like the precision of a well-tuned instrument or the synchronization of a beautiful dance. Everything fits together effortlessly, creating a melody or rhythm that can only come from something greater than yourself. When God is at work, he doesn't bring people into your life haphazardly. He aligns your paths in a way that reflects his divine intention. This alignment is not accidental, it's purposeful, and it's unmistakable. One of the first places this alignment shows up is in your values. You see, values are the foundation of who we are. They shape our decisions, guide our actions, and reflect what truly matters to us. When God wants you to be with someone, there will be an undeniable connection in the things you both hold dear. It's not about agreeing on every little detail, but about sharing the same core principles: faith, integrity, kindness, and a commitment to living out God's purpose. It's important to recognize that alignment in values doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean you'll never have disagreements or see things differently. But what it does mean is that at your core, you're both striving for the same things. You're both seeking to honor God with your lives, to love others with compassion, and to walk in humility and grace. This kind of alignment creates a solid foundation, one that can withstand the storms of life. Alignment also reveals itself in your vision for the future. Have you ever met someone and realized that your dreams seem to complement theirs? It's as if God had been preparing you both separately for a purpose you could only fulfill together. When you align with the right person, your individual goals don't clash, they converge. You find that your aspirations, while unique, are moving in the same direction. This kind of harmony isn't something you can manufacture. It's something only God can create. But here's the thing about alignment: it requires self-awareness and surrender. You have to know who you are and what God has called you to. You can't align with someone else if you're unclear about your own purpose. This is why seeking God's guidance is so crucial. When you're grounded in him, you're better able to recognize when someone else's vision aligns with yours. And when it does, it's like a light bulb moment, a realization that this person isn't just a partner, but a partner in purpose. Now let's talk about how alignment plays out in your daily interactions. When God brings you into alignment with someone, there's a sense of ease and peace that surrounds your relationship. It's not forced or strained. It feels natural and right. This doesn't mean there won't be challenges, but even in those challenges, there's a sense that you're both on the same team. You're not working against each other. You're working together, building something that honors God and strengthens your bond. Quote, alignment also manifests in how you handle conflict. When you're aligned with someone, disagreements don't have to lead to division. Instead, they become opportunities for growth. You approach challenges with a shared mindset, seeking solutions that benefit both of you. This kind of unity is a testament to God's hand in your relationship. It's a reflection of his desire for harmony, not just between the two of you, but in how your relationship impacts the world around you. And let's not forget the role of prayer in alignment. When God is leading you to someone, prayer becomes a central part of your connection. You pray for each other, with each other, and about the future God has in store. This spiritual unity deepens your bond and reinforces the alignment God has already established. It's a reminder that your relationship isn't just about the two of you, it's about fulfilling God's purpose together. So what do you do when you see this alignment? You lean into it with faith. You trust that God's plan is unfolding exactly as it should. You don't rush the process or try to control it. You simply walk in obedience, knowing that God's timing is perfect. And as you do, you'll find that the alignment God has created will lead to a relationship that is not only fulfilling, but also deeply rooted in his love and purpose. In the end, alignment is God's way of saying, "This is what I've been preparing you for." It's his way of showing you that the person he's placed in your life isn't just a partner, but a divine connection, someone who will walk with you in faith, purpose, and love. So pay attention to the alignment, embrace it, and trust that when God is in it, everything will come together exactly as it should. The second step of love to transform is patience. Just like the person to the patient, the person to the patient. Life is full of moments that test our patience, and sometimes the waiting feels unbearable. It's in those moments of stillness, when nothing seems to be moving forward, that we start questioning, doubting, and even wondering if God has forgotten about us. But let me tell you something. God is never late. He's always working, even in the silence. When you're on the path to meeting the person he has for you, those moments of waiting are not wasted time. They're part of his preparation, shaping you for the blessing that's to come. Waiting is not easy. It feels like an endless stretch of time where you're stuck in limbo, unsure of what's next. But let me ask you, what if the waiting is not about the delay, but about the development? What if God is using this period to build in you the strength, the character, and the wisdom you'll need to walk into the future he's preparing? Think about it. God isn't just interested in giving you a partner. He's invested in making sure you're ready to thrive in that relationship. And readiness takes time. The waiting season is not passive, it's active. It's a time to look inward and ask yourself the tough questions. Are you the person you need to be for the relationship you desire? Are you walking in alignment with God's purpose for your life? Sometimes we're so focused on finding the right person that we forget the importance of being the right person. The waiting season is God's way of aligning you with his will, shaping you into the partner that someone else is praying for. Let me share a truth with you. God's timing is perfect. It's not just a cliche, it's a principle that applies to every area of life, especially relationships. We live in a world that moves at lightning speed. We're used to getting what we want when we want it with just the click of a button. But God doesn't operate on our timetable. He's not in a rush because he's more concerned with the quality of what he's preparing than the speed at which we receive it. And when it comes to the person he has for you, you better believe he's taking his time to make sure everything is just right. During the waiting season, you might find yourself feeling isolated. You see others moving forward, getting into relationships, getting engaged, starting families, and you wonder why it's not happening for you. But let me remind you of something. Comparison is the thief of joy. What God is doing in someone else's life has no bearing on what he's doing in yours. Their timeline is not your timeline. Your journey is uniquely designed by the creator of the universe, and he's writing a story for you that's unlike anyone else's. So what do you do in the waiting? You focus on growth. You use this time to deepen your relationship with God, to discover your passions, to build the kind of life that reflects your values and aspirations. The waiting season is not a punishment, it's a gift. It's an opportunity to prepare your heart, your mind, and your spirit for what's coming. And when the time is right, you'll be grateful that you didn't rush the process. There's another thing about waiting. It teaches you trust. Trust in God's plan, trust in his timing, and trust that he knows exactly what you need even when you don't. Trust is not always easy, especially when you can't see the bigger picture. But faith is not about seeing, it's about believing. It's about knowing that the God who created the stars and the oceans is also orchestrating the details of your life. And if he's asking you to wait, it's because he has something extraordinary in store. The beauty of God's timing is that when it happens, it's undeniable. The person he brings into your life will fit in a way that feels natural and divine at the same time. You won't have to force it or manipulate circumstances to make it work. It will simply align because that's what God does. He aligns. And when it aligns, you'll see that every moment of waiting was worth it. Let me leave you with this. The waiting season is not a wasted season. It's a season of growth, of preparation, and of trust. It's a time to lean into God's presence, to surrender your plans to his, and to embrace the journey he's leading you on. The waiting is where your faith is strengthened, where your character is refined, and where your heart is prepared to receive the blessing he has in store. So don't despise the waiting, embrace it. Trust that God is at work even when you can't see it. And know that when the time comes, it will be perfect, not by your standards, but by His. Because when God moves, He moves with purpose, and His purpose is always for your good. Stay faithful, stay patient, and watch how God turns the waiting into something beautiful. Life is a series of lessons, each one crafted to teach us something about ourselves, about others, and about the divine plan that guides us all. Sometimes we face challenges that feel insurmountable, circumstances that test our patience, our faith, and even our will to move forward. And yet, it is through these challenges that God whispers the truths we need to hear, shaping us into who we are meant to become. When it comes to love and relationships, these lessons take on an even deeper significance. They are not just about who you are today, but about who you are becoming for the person God has destined for you. Challenges are not obstacles, they are opportunities. They stretch us, refine us, and prepare us for the blessings that lie ahead. Think about it. How often have you faced a situation where you felt stuck, unable to see the purpose behind the struggle? But then, later on, you realize that it was precisely that struggle that prepared you for something greater. The same principle applies to the journey of finding the person you're meant to spend your life with. God allows challenges not to break you, but to build you, to mold your character and deepen your understanding of love, commitment, and grace. Relationships require more than just love. They require growth. And growth often comes through adversity. God knows this, which is why He allows us to face certain challenges before revealing the person He has for us. These challenges might look like heartbreak, disappointment, or seasons of loneliness. They might feel like endless cycles of trying and failing, of opening your heart only to have it broken. But let me tell you something. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every lonely night, it's all part of the preparation. God is using those moments to teach you resilience, to show you what you truly need in a partner, and to strengthen your faith in His plan. Have you ever thought about why God doesn't just give us what we want when we want it? It's because He's more interested in our long-term growth than in our short-term comfort. He's not just looking at where you are right now, He's looking at where you're going. And to get there, you need to be ready. You need to be the kind of person who can handle the blessing He's preparing for you. That's why the challenges you face today are so important. They're not just about the present, they're about the future. They're about equipping you with the wisdom, the strength, and the humility you'll need to walk into your destiny. Challenges also reveal what truly matters. They strip away the superficial and force us to confront the deeper truths about ourselves and our desires. Sometimes we think we know what we want in a partner, but it's not until we face certain trials that we realize what we truly need. Maybe you thought you wanted someone who could make you laugh, but through a season of hardship, you realized you needed someone who could pray with you. Maybe you thought you wanted someone who shared your hobbies, but through a period of reflection, you realized you needed someone who shared your values. Challenges have a way of clarifying our priorities, aligning our desires with God's will. And let's not forget the role of faith in all of this. Facing challenges without faith can feel like wandering through a storm without a compass. But when you anchor yourself in God's promises, those same challenges become stepping stones. They become opportunities to lean into His wisdom, to trust in His timing, and to grow in your relationship with Him. Faith doesn't eliminate the challenges. It transforms them. It gives you the strength to persevere, the perspective to see the bigger picture, and the peace to know that God is in control. One of the most profound lessons we learn through challenges is the power of surrender. Sometimes we hold on so tightly to our plans, our timelines, and our expectations that we leave no room for God to move. But challenges have a way of breaking down our resistance, of reminding us that we are not in control. And in that surrender, we find freedom. We find the grace to let go of what's not meant for us, and the faith to trust that what's meant for us will never miss us. So if you're in the middle of a challenge right now, I want you to remember this. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. God is not punishing you, He's preparing you. He's using every moment, every obstacle, and every setback to shape you into the person you're meant to be. And when the time comes when he reveals the person he's been preparing for you, you'll see that it was all worth it. Life's greatest lessons often come through life's greatest challenges. Embrace them, learn from them, and trust that God's plan is bigger, better, and more beautiful than anything you could ever imagine. Keep the faith, stay the course, and remember, the best is yet to come. One of the most profound truths we often overlook is that God uses time as a tool to reveal his divine purpose. Time, with all its uncertainty and waiting, is not a punishment, it's a preparation. And when it comes to finding the person God has chosen for you, that waiting period can often feel like an eternity. But let me tell you something, the waiting is not wasted. It's in the waiting that God does his most transformative work. Think about the seasons of waiting in your own life. Those moments when you felt stuck, when progress seemed impossible, when you were tempted to settle for less just to avoid the discomfort of being in limbo. Those seasons weren't void of purpose. They were filled with lessons, even if you didn't see them at the time. God was working behind the scenes, not just orchestrating events, but also working on you. He was refining your character, shaping your heart, and preparing you for the love you're destined to give and receive. The waiting period is a test of trust. It's a chance for you to lean into God's promises even when there's no visible evidence that they're coming to fruition. And that's not easy. It takes faith to trust in what you can't see, to believe that God's timing is better than your own, especially when the world around you seems to be moving forward while you're standing still. But let me remind you, standing still in God's will is better than moving forward outside of it. Sometimes God holds you in a place of waiting to protect you from rushing into something you're not ready for. Waiting also teaches us to prioritize what truly matters. It's in those quiet moments of reflection that we begin to understand the kind of relationship we want, not the surface level connection that fades with time, but a deep, meaningful partnership that aligns with God's plan. The waiting helps you clarify your values, define your non-negotiables, and develop the emotional maturity needed to sustain a lifelong commitment. It forces you to confront your own shortcomings, to address the areas where you need to grow, and to prepare yourself to be the partner someone else is praying for. But let's be honest, waiting can also be lonely, it can be frustrating, and in that loneliness, it's easy to question God's plan, to wonder if he's forgotten about you or if you're somehow unworthy of the love you desire. Let me tell you this, God has not forgotten about you. He sees you, he knows your heart, your desires, and your struggles. And he's not just preparing someone for you, he's preparing you for someone. The waiting isn't a delay, it's a design. It's a necessary part of the journey that ensures when the right person comes along, you're ready to recognize them, appreciate them, and build something extraordinary together. Sometimes we get so caught up in what we're waiting for that we forget to focus on what we're doing while we wait. This is where many people miss the mark. They see waiting as a passive state, a period of inactivity, when in reality, it's an opportunity for growth. What are you doing during your waiting season? Are you using it to deepen your relationship with God? To cultivate your own talents and passions? To become the best version of yourself, not for someone else, but for the person you're called to be? Because let me tell you, the work you put in now will pay dividends in the future. The habits you form, the lessons you learn, the faith you build, they will all serve you when you step into the relationship God has for you. And here's another truth about waiting, it builds gratitude. When you finally meet the person you're meant to be with, the one God has been preparing for you, you'll appreciate them in a way you couldn't have if it had come easy. The waiting adds value to the blessing. It makes you realize that good things are worth the effort, the patience, and the trust. It helps you see that God's timing isn't just right, It's perfect. So, what should you do while you wait? Keep your eyes on God. Trust His process. Stay open to the lessons He's teaching you. And most importantly, don't rush. Don't settle for less just to fill a void. Don't let the fear of waiting lead you into a relationship that's not aligned with God's will. Remember, the right person will come at the right time, and when they do, you'll understand why it couldn't have happened any sooner. In the meantime, take heart. The waiting is not a punishment. It's a gift. It's God's way of ensuring that when the time comes, you're not just ready to meet the person He has for you, you're ready to build a life with them. Trust the process, embrace the journey, and know that God's plan for you is worth every moment of waiting. Because here's the truth, the best things in life, the ones that truly matter, are worth the wait. One of the most powerful aspects of God's design for relationships is that He uses them to shape us into the people we are meant to be. But before He brings the right person into your life, He often challenges you to become the best version of yourself. The journey to finding the person God has for you isn't just about discovering them, it's about discovering yourself in the process. It's about refining your character, clarifying your values, and aligning your life with God's purpose so you can build a relationship that honors Him. We often think of relationships as a source of happiness, and while they certainly bring joy, they are also a mirror. They reflect our strengths, our flaws, and everything in between. And if you're not ready to see yourself clearly, you won't be ready for the relationship God has planned for you. That's why self-awareness is crucial. God wants you to understand who you are, what you bring to the table, and where you need to grow. He's not asking for perfection. None of us can achieve that. But He is asking for progress. He's asking you to be intentional about becoming the kind of person who can contribute to a healthy, God-centered partnership. ESPA score. Let's talk about preparation. Many people want the blessing of a relationship without the responsibility that comes with it. But relationships, especially the kind that align with God's will, require work. They require patience, communication, forgiveness, and grace. They require you to be humble enough to admit when you're wrong and strong enough to stand by your convictions when it matters. Stand by your convictions when it matters. If you haven't cultivated these qualities in yourself, how can you expect to sustain a relationship with someone else? This is why God uses the waiting period to prepare you. He's not just preparing your future spouse, He's preparing you to be a spouse. He's shaping your heart so that when the time comes, you're ready to love fully, deeply, and selflessly. And here's the hard truth. You can't skip this step. You can't fast forward through the process of becoming. You can't cheat your way into a relationship that's built to last. If you rush ahead of God's timing, you might find yourself in a relationship that looks good on the surface, but lacks the foundation to endure. You might find yourself settling for something that feels right in the moment, but doesn't align with God's bigger picture for your life. And trust me, nothing is worth compromising God's plan for you. Nothing is worth missing out on the relationship He has designed for you, one that will not only bring you joy, but also draw you closer to Him. So how do you prepare? Start by seeking God first. Let Him be the foundation of your life before you try to build a relationship with someone else. Spend time in prayer, asking Him to reveal the areas where you need to grow. Study His Word to understand His vision for love, marriage, and partnership. Surround yourself with people who will hold you accountable and encourage you to stay on the path He has laid out for you. And most importantly, trust that His timing is perfect. Trust that He knows what you need and when you need it, even when it feels like He's taking too long. It's also important to take practical steps. Work on your communication skills. Learn how to express your feelings and listen to others with empathy. Develop habits of kindness and generosity, not just in your relationships, but in your everyday life. Practice patience, because love requires it in abundance. And don't be afraid to confront your weaknesses. If you struggle with anger, pride, or insecurity, now is the time to address those issues. Healing and growth are part of the preparation process, and they will make you a stronger, more loving partner in the future. But let me be clear, this isn't about changing yourself to earn love. God's love is unconditional, and the right person will love you for who you are. This is about becoming the person God created you to be so you can love others in the way he intended. It's about stepping into your purpose and embracing the fullness of who you are, knowing that the right person will complement you, because here's the truth. You are already whole in Christ. You don't need a relationship to validate your worth or define your identity. You are enough just as you are. When the time comes, the person God has for you will see and appreciate the work you've done. They'll value your journey and join you on it, not as a replacement for your faith, but as a partner in it. Together, you'll build something beautiful, something that reflects God's love and serves as a testament to his faithfulness. And you'll look back on the waiting, the preparation, and the growth with gratitude, knowing it was all worth it. So don't rush the process. Trust that God is working, even when you can't see it. Embrace the journey of becoming, and know that when the time is right, everything will fall into place. Because here's the thing, the person God has for you isn't just worth the wait, they're worth the work. And so are you.